Hello everyone and welcome back to the series. As always, before we begin, a big thanks to my channel members for their continued support. Following chapter 21's cutscene, we are met with the shocked expressions of the commander and counters. Unsurprisingly, the weight of the situation has fully set on their shoulders. The Ark, humanity's safe haven, had been compromised, and raptures had already laid waste to various areas throughout the city. Though there's a lot of information to take in, Rappy tries to establish a stable connection to the Ark's communication center. Despite her best efforts, she's met with dead air. Seeing this result, the commander assumes the comms must be blocked, which Rappy affirms, stating that in a worst-case scenario, all communications in the Ark are down. Thinking on their feet, Anise suggests for the group to move to one of the Big Three's company's headquarters, stating that it would be safer there than where they are now. Currently, Elijah's headquarters seem to be the closest to where the group is located, and she wastes no time plotting a route for the group to follow. The commander recalls what Enoch had told him all the way back in chapter 14. Enoch had stated that the Ark, since its creation, had never been invaded by raptures. Though it was widely believed that the raptures were unaware of the Ark's location, the grim truth is the fact that raptures are widely aware of where it is. Instead of fortifying humanity's final safe haven, humanity instead struck a deal with the raptures out of cowardice, ensuring the safety of humanity. The agreement between Chatterbox and Enoch was simple. So long as Enoch provided Chatterbox with a steady supply of Nikkes, he wouldn't touch the Ark. Despite this, Chatterbox had been defeated, so the commander is unsure of where this deal stands now. This flashback aids the commander to come to one clear conclusion. The group needs to meet with Enoch. When the counters question the commander's reasoning, he simply states that Enoch is the AI that runs the entire Ark. If anyone would know the timeline of events that had occurred, it would be her. Rappy, seeing the commander's plan as logical, wastes no time planning a route to Enoch's chamber. Even with an expedient route, the counters will still have to fight through hordes of raptors to get to Enoch. There's another factor at play here: the thousands of citizens who reside in the Ark. None of them know of the real danger that the raptures present. Therefore, the commander opts to take a route cutting through downtown. By taking this route, the commander can also help anyone who may need assistance. It's no secret that a vast majority of the Ark's citizens stand little to no chance against the raptures, so any help they can get would be exponential in this situation. While en route to Enoch's chamber, after dispatching various small groups of raptors, counters find themselves bumping into some familiar faces. Miranda and Polly, both members of the Ark's police force, ACPU, are shocked and relieved to see both the commander and counters well. Understandably so, Miranda is quite shaken up by everything that had transpired up until this point, but Polly is there to give her a smack upside the head to get her focused on the current situation again. Rappy questions Polly about the sequences of events leading to the Ark being invaded, and Polly's answer is simple. A massive hole appeared in the Dome of Eternity, and raptures began pouring in. The Dome of Eternity is briefly mentioned in NIKKE's main campaign. However, it's mentioned more in Bond stories and event missions. The Dome of Eternity is a collection of screens which cover the inner dome of the Ark. It is also a method in which the central government emulates a day and night cycle too. The sky, the moon, and stars, all of these are artificial. A mirage to keep humanity comfortable living imprisoned in paradise. Though it's clear the Dome of Eternity was compromised, it is unclear how at the moment. Both Polly and Miranda have been fighting raptures since then, but thankfully, according to Polly, they hadn't seen any human casualties. Gunfire can be heard in the distance, confirming one thing to the group: all able Nikkes are defending the Ark with everything they have, ensuring a path for humanity's survival. Being at the epicenter of the initial invasion, Polly and Miranda have been trying to find a way to assess a proper damage report. After hearing of the counter's plan to pay Enoch a visit, ACPU decides to tag along as well. Although Anise thinks that ACPU would be fine on their own, Rappy quickly dismantles that statement. The counters are well seasoned with fighting Lord-class raptors and above. However, very few in the Ark had even encountered soldier classes. Strength in numbers would prove beneficial here, and thus, the group continues to Enoch's chamber. Despite the gap in skill between the two groups, Polly and Miranda proved to have vast knowledge on rapture combat. the group quickly engages in an encounter with the Raptors. Although the battle is won, the group faces a new problem. Counter's original route had been blocked. Thinking on their feet, Miranda volunteers to show the group an alternative route. Being a member of the traffic police, Miranda knows these routes like the back of her hand. Funny, considering the Ark has few cars to begin with, that luxury being reserved for only the wealthiest of sovereigns. Although Anise was skeptical of Miranda's knowledge of alternative routes, the team is making great progress in reaching NIKKE's chamber. At this pace, on foot, they'll be there in 2 hours. This scenario alone really helps to scale just how large the Ark itself is. On average, walking for 2 hours nonstop equates to roughly 6 miles of travel, meaning the Ark is much larger than we originally thought. While they continue on, Anise raises a good point. They've seen no humans while en route. Anise expected more carnage, but Rappy states this could have been simply due to an evacuation. Before they can come to a conclusion, NIKKE suddenly chimes in, re-establishing communications between herself and Counters. Evidently, NIKKE can create hotspots, direct lines of connections to select groups in situations of emergency like this one. Although she can communicate with Counters, the main comms are still down overall. The commander wastes no time in questioning NIKKE on the Ark's current situation. However, NIKKE is still currently compiling information. Even when the commander asks directly if this has to do with Chatterbox's agreement, NIKKE gives him a firm no. This is rather concerning. If this wasn't caused by the severance of the agreement NIKKE had with Chatterbox, then what exactly was happening? NIKKE also informs the group that there are no human casualties in the Ark. She continues, stating that 10 minutes prior to the invasion, an evacuation order was issued to all humans, advising them to seek safety in the designated emergency shelters. Looking back on it, this is actually very suspicious. How did NIKKE know to make this order before the first Raptors descended into the Ark? This is a question we'll leave on the back burner as we continue on this series. NIKKE continues, due to a celebration event for Matisse, a majority of the human populace had gathered in one location. I just want to put this into perspective. The Ark is tens of hundreds of miles wide, yet the entire population could gather in one place. This made evacuation fairly streamlined once the order was given. Polly questions the reasoning behind NIKKE's not being notified, and NIKKE's reply is that NIKKE's were not informed because it is their duty to fight. Though a bit downcast, Polly understands NIKKE's line of thinking. Questioning NIKKE once again, the commander asks for a timeline of events, or at the very least, information NIKKE has leading up to the initial invasion of the Ark. After taking a brief moment to allocate all appropriate information, NIKKE states that she can show the group the events leading up to the initial invasion. However, she will do so on one condition. Of course, the group wastes no time in agreeing, only to be met with a cryptic response from the AI that runs the entire Ark. After she shows the group the recording, there is something important that only the commander can do. As a playback commences, the group is greeted by the sight of Blanc, Noir, and Rosanna having a serious conversation. This playback took place 3 days ago, and it's clear that there's some conflict going on between the two groups. Blanc is refusing to take Rosanna up on an offer she'd extended to the 777 squad. Rosanna wanted her gang Hedonia to stay in Coin Rush, being the casino Blanc and Noir work at. Rosanna states that it is her way of offering protection to 777. Blanc's personality is very straightforward and direct, and thus she snaps back at Rosanna. Blanc states that if Hedonia ever set foot into Coin Rush, due to their less than ideal reputation, the entire casino is bound to go down the drain. Rosanna's personality, much like Blanc's, is very direct, but in this case, also very abrasive. She smugly tells Blanc that she can teach her a thing or two about the way the world works. Despite her Hedonia goons being present in Coin Rush, Rosanna reassures that they'll be dressed as normal patrons, ready to spring into action at any given moment. Blanc once more doesn't back down. Coin Rush, to Blanc, is the safest adult playground in the entire Ark. Seeing how stubborn Blanc is to Rosanna's offer, she decides to turn up the heat. She blasts Blanc with all the rumors that have been floating around regarding Coin Rush, the beggars in the casino, the slot machines not paying out, the refunds requested for subpar cocktails. Hearing these statements, Noir, Blanc's twin sister, urges her to at least hear Rosanna's conditions. 777 is in a rough time due to half of their squad being in training. Due to this training and the squad being fragmented, Noir and Blanc have had a lot to manage on their own. To Noir, if these rough times continue, Coin Rush will be all but lost. Blanc agrees that she doesn't want to see the casino go under, and thus she reluctantly agrees to hear Rosanna out. She wants to know what Rosanna wants out of all of this, and Rosanna makes it sound pretty straightforward: protection of Coin Rush in exchange for a couple bucks for members of Hedonia to toss at the slots. In addition, members of Hedonia will address and overcome any conflict in the house. Even with Rosanna's response, Blanc, understandably so, is still reluctant to believe the grounds of her offer. Flippantly, Blanc remarks how these in-house resolves will go, most likely with a volley of machine gun bullets. Rosanna chuckles at Blanc's retort, stating that such excessive uses of violence won't be necessary for this job. Rosanna states that she'll make sure her gang's involvement in the casino won't cause a commotion, but only scare the intended target if an issue arises. Even with this offer, Blanc is still hesitant, asking the price for such a gracious line of protection. Of course, there is a catch: Rosanna requesting for 60% of the profits generated from Coin Rush. Extending her hand to seal the agreement, the Bunny twins both deny the deal instantly. Rosanna's price is beyond absurd. Turning to leave, Rosanna states that given enough time, the Bunny twins will eventually regret not taking her offer. We then flash forward to a day before the invasion of the Ark. Rosanna is back at Coin Rush after a slew of unfortunate events fell on the establishment. She changes the tune of her offer, requesting 40% of the casino's profits. Before Rosanna can loop the twins into her deal, Sakura, Rosanna's squad mate, emerges from behind. Sakura is the leader of Semekai, another underground organization that operates in the Outer Rim. Sakura cuts straight to the point, stating that the hooligans who have been robbing and terrorizing Coin Rush were Rosanna's men, members of Hedonia. Not giving Rosanna any time to retort, Sakura furthers her statement by declaring that Semekai will be overseeing the protection of Coin Rush from here on out. Blanc intervenes, stating that the deal with Sakura hadn't been sealed yet either. Though Rosanna is impressed by the twins' ability to fight against Sakura, her anger gets the better of her, slamming her fist against the table. Rosanna tells Sakura to listen up, and Sakura's retort is pretty damn savage in response.
Listen up, madam.
Who you calling madam, bitch?
Yeah, it seems that these two members of Underground Queen are at each other's throats. As Rosanna and Sakura continue to argue, Sakura offers Blanc and Noir protection of their establishment for free. Rosanna jumps in to match Sakura's offer. A slew of back and forth ensues while both Sakura and Rosanna trying to one-up one another to get the deal sealed. Eventually, Rosanna offers a 15% split with Sakura to guard the place. Sakura, who had backed Blanc into a corner, reminding her of Semekai's assistance to them in the past, agrees, pressuring the girls for an answer. Noir, nervous as ever, urges Blanc to make a choice, but before she can, another voice rings out.
Hey! What the hell is going on here?
Oh boy.
This is gonna be a problem.
The final member of Underworld Queen, Moran, comes into the fray, angrily questioning her two squad mates on why they're pressuring the Bunny twins. Funnily enough, both Sakura and Rosanna seem irritated with Moran's entrance, knowing very well it'll be nothing but trouble. The counters in ACPU witnessing this playback are stunned of the two groups clashing. Underworld Queen isn't exactly hurting for cash, so the severity of this job isn't as urgent as Rosanna had let on. That and Coin Rush is the biggest moneymaker in the Ark, is practically all of Mustang's hopes and dreams materialize in a massive adult playground. Confused on how 777 and Underworld Queen's conflict relates to the Ark's invasion, Enoch urges the group to continue watching the playback feed. Moran is now standing before Sakura and Rosanna, angered of her teammates for attempting to extort Coin Rush. Her issue is them strong-arming Blanc and Noir into protection for monetary gain. Sakura's retort is that Moran's gang, the Peony Association, also offers protection for profit. Moran's response is a very funny one when you think about it. She gets paid to defend in the form of goods, in this case being food. Snow White would definitely be proud. Moran and Sakura's ideologies clash here. one wanting monetary gain, while the other sees that as lowly and only for thugs. Moran tells her squad mates to stop what they're doing, stating that this wasn't the orders Mustang had given them. This finally causes Rosanna to snap, repeatedly telling Moran to follow her. When she declines, Sakura and Rosanna seem at their wits' end. It would seem that they had alternative missions at Coin Rush here, and Moran was about to blow their cover sky high. Sakura urges for Moran to shut up and follow them to talk somewhere privately, but before they can get through to Moran, an explosion rushes through Coin Rush, tendrils of smoke filling the air. Sakura and Rosanna aren't too pleased with the uninvited guests, and Moran is just as lost in the situation. Sakura asks Blanc to point her to the most expensive item in Coin Rush. Blanc states that a jewel necklace in the center display is what they'd be after. Swiftly getting to work, Sakura drops to one knee and readies her gun, saying that she's ready to deal with these uninvited guests. Sakura takes a shot using suppression bullets, but misses, and as the smoke clears, the display case is smashed to pieces, and the necklace is gone. Rosanna is clearly irritated with this being a one-man job, while Sakura's body begins to go numb. The smoke wasn't just any ordinary smoke, but instead, smoke infused with alpha particles. Whoever had just robbed Coin Rush was one step ahead of Underworld Queen, accounting for their presence and the presence of other Nikkes. Sakura and Rosanna are quick to make their next move. However, Moran is still lost as to what's happening. The two decide to fill Moran in on the real mission. Underworld Queen have received intel that Heavenly Ascension, one of the most notorious terrorist groups in the Ark, were planning an attack on Coin Rush. Moran, confused by this, asks why the duo didn't just state those facts to 777. Once more, their response is simple. It would have been reported to the central government, resulting in a mass eradication of the Outer Rim without a second thought. Sakura and Rosanna had also withheld information from Moran due to her tendency to do things for free, and the low number of members the Peony Association has. Hedonia and Semekai outnumber the Peony Association 30-1 in members, so even if Moran did want to help, she lacked the manpower to do so. Following this recollection, we are then met with 3 sections from the Underworld Queen's point of view, each member being tasked with a different objective. 3 hours before the current events, Rosanna is in the Outer Rim. Her task is to find information regarding EH, the leader of Heavenly Ascension. Rosanna finds out that EH had met with a high-ranking central government official in secret. Rosanna had successfully captured a Heavenly Ascension executive, and was in the process of getting information out of them. It seems quite odd, EH, the leader of Heavenly Ascension, meeting with the central government. The exec tells Rosanna that it was to make a deal, but is unsure of the exact details on it. He only knows the deal didn't go well, and he was instructed after that to allocate funds for Heavenly Ascension. To Rosanna, this makes no sense. EH meeting with the senior officers for a handout. The timeline of events were clearly not adding up. Heavenly Ascension's intel is garbage at best, and she knows she won't get any useful information out of the exec. She shows him a text sent to herself and Sakura, and upon seeing it, the exec's reaction alone gives Rosanna all she needs to know. Someone had planted the idea in Underworld Queen's heads that Coin Rush would be targeted. In addition, they'd also succeeded in planting the same thought in the members of Heavenly Ascension as well. Reading the text, and seeing the heart emoji at the end of it, she knows exactly who she needs to seek out next. The sly snake of Exotic, Viper. Amidst all the chaos from earlier, one thing is clear. Exotic wants to display infighting between the members of the Outer Rim. For exactly what reason, Rosanna is still unaware. Realizing her rash actions with the exec, she orders her men to take him to the hospital to recover as she ponders the situation. What exactly was Exotic planning, using Underworld Queen as scapegoats for this convoluted scheme? As Rosanna continues to dig deeper, we are met with the next member, Sakura. 3 hours prior to the current events, Sakura is in Semeikai's headquarters. She is rendezvousing with Dala from Talentum. For those of you who haven't played through Dala's Bond story, she's heavily involved with the dark net, and is very familiar on how to dig into transactions and navigate through it. Dala informs Sakura of a large number of previously unregistered firearms and ammunition being sold. The total is roughly 200 rifles and a vast quantity of ammo. Though the quantity of guns to Sakura seems a bit peculiar, Dala informs her of something else. the guns being sold were meant for Nikkes to use. This shocks Sakura, who repeats what Dalla just relayed to her. Dalla begins to explain the specifics about the rifles. They do have a lighter recoil, so in theory humans could use them. But despite this, the weapons are not the most comfortable to fire. Sakura points out that these weapons don't fit the bill for a terrorist attack, and Dalla agrees. To Sakura, their next course of action would be tracking down who made the purchases. Dalla explains that due to the vastness of the darknet, that would be next to impossible. In addition to guns, Dalla also informs Sakura of a massive excavation bomb that was sold on the darknet too. The purchase was made parallel to the guns and ammunition being sold. The bomb is a heavy-duty explosive, originally being designed for excavation, and had been obsolete since the Ark's creation. The bomb isn't effective on Raptures either, the concentration of the blast being everything underneath the bomb itself. Due to the design and usage of the bomb, Sakura and Dalla can't wrap their heads around what the intended use for it would be. Anything can be bought on the darknet if the individual has enough money, and the sellers don't bat an eye at who their clients are either. A bit off-put, Sakura asks Dalla how she has such vast knowledge of the dark net, and her response is that it's just a hobby of hers, but she wouldn't take the risk traversing the dark net if she didn't have a way out. Smugly, Dalla also states that the two are not on the same side, advising Sakura not to forget that either. Impressed with Dalla's willingness to stand her ground, Sakura giggles, apologizing for doubting her. With the information passed smoothly between the two, Sakura thanks Dalla for her time. Dalla also thanks Sakura since it's incredibly beneficial for her Seimeikai to be indebted to her. Sakura acknowledges this debt, saying that she won't forget what Dalla had done for them, and that she is always welcome to Seimekai's help in any way in the future. As Dalla leaves, just like Rosanna, Sakura begins to have her own doubts. None of these items that were purchased are suitable for a terrorist attack. The bomb, their primary weapon, can't even be used offensively. Even the usage of Nikkes is obsolete, as it can't even lay a finger on humans. Sakura continues to ponder these facts as the scene transitions once more. Our final transition is 2 hours prior to current events. We are met with Moran, who is in the back alleys of the Ark. Moran is meeting up with one of her men, Jin. Jin is giving Moran information he'd gathered from a childhood friend, one who is also affiliated with Heavenly Ascension. The veracity of Jin's information is sketchy at best, but she's informed that the Darknet weapons are being sent to the Ark. Just like Rosanna, Moran is also informed of the meeting between EH and the central government falling through. Once more, Moran thinks the plan is crazy that Heavenly Ascension is devising. Jin offers a basic solution to Moran's question. They'll smuggle items into the Ark using the elevator. There are thousands of elevators to the surface from the Ark, some of these being inactive, and others are not well guarded. Jin explains that Heavenly Ascension will utilize one of these elevators to go down directly into the Ark. Although they cannot defeat Raptures in battle, Jin surmises that Heavenly Ascension can avoid detection from Raptures if nothing else. Jin sends Moran the location of the elevator EH will use to enact this plan. Moran tells Jin to send the location to Sakura and Rosanna as well. With this brief interaction, all the players are in place to stop the plot of Heavenly Ascension. A mere hour before the current events in the Ark, we are introduced to EH, the leader of Heavenly Ascension, at elevator hub J910. She's ready to go, but before she can enact her plan, Moran's voice rings out. Calling her by her whole name, Elijah Harper, Moran catches EH off guard. Also, yes, her name Elijah has caused speculation to fly amidst the player base. This character could possibly be a previous CEO or a researcher for Elijah. EH's response to Moran is that her legal name, Elijah Harper, is one she left behind a long time ago. Moran advises EH to drop the bags that she's carrying. EH declines, saying that this protection is for her men, Heavenly Ascension. Moran's rebuttal is that those weapons will only get her killed. Although Moran's approach is a bit lax, Rosanna isn't too patient with EH. She states point blank how utterly stupid this entire plan is. Walking around with an arsenal of weaponry, Sakura reinforces Moran's comment, questioning if the bloodshed EH will cause will really get her anywhere. Every member of Underworld Queen had made swift haste to intercept EH. With a full group present, the chances of stopping her are higher than ever. EH states this greeting is quite a rare one, seeing all of Underworld Queen gathered in one place. Rosanna attempts to talk some sense into EH. She asks what she's thinking with this plan, especially utilizing NIKKE grade weapons that she now has in her possession. Heavenly Ascension, according to Rosanna, will be designated as a terrorist group armed to the teeth with advanced weaponry. This, of course, would spell disaster for everyone in the Outer Rim, affiliated or not. Sakura reinforces this claim, stating that the central government will turn the entire Outer Rim into nothing but rubble. EH falls silent after the verbal assault from Underworld Queen. However, her response is one that truly paints just how dark and depressing this world is. EH discloses the events regarding her meeting with the central government. She had met with one of the deputy chiefs, or rather, they'd accepted a request EH had sent out to meet with them. The meeting wasn't one to threaten the Ark, but rather for EH to request protection. EH was aware that raptures were spitting distance from the Ark, and this fact alone struck deep fear within her. This didn't help when she had also learned of Matisse's corruption in previous chapters. All of these facts struck fear in EH because she is all too aware of where the Outer Rim stands in the Ark's hierarchy. The Outer Rim is the literal garbage disposal of the Ark, and if raptures ever were to invade, they'd be nothing but an afterthought to them. She begged the deputy chief for NIKKEs to be stationed in the Outer Rim to ensure that its citizens had some form of protection. The deputy chief she met with, as EH recalls, did nothing but sip his tea as if she were invisible. Her plight, her entire plea fell on arrogantly deaf ears. Even when EH explained that everyone in the Outer Rim wanted to live, he did nothing but scoff. Even if the citizens of the Outer Rim were outlaws, they were still humans, something the central government had completely forgotten. This interaction alone reminded EH of the one true enemy in the Ark, and the reason why humanity continued to cower underground. The information that EH reveals next would have been one that changed the entire course of our events in the story. EH told the deputy chief the following: if these conditions are met and NIKKEs are placed to guard the Outer Rim, she will dismantle Heavenly Ascension. Yes, you heard that right. The leader of the most notorious outlaw group in the Ark just offered to disband and fade away, all for the ensured protection of her people. So what do you think this deputy chief's response was?
You know what he said to me?
Enough!
None of you are humans. Why would we dedicate our resources to something that's not human? It's best we leave the barriers open. We'll still need somewhere to dispose of our garbage.
Then, he tried to kill me, but I escaped.
Hearing these disgusting comments about the Outer Rim, Moran demands to know who said those things to EH, who had disregarded thousands of lives, declaring all of the Outer Rim as subhuman. EH then asks if Moran sees them as human, and of course Moran's response is simple: every member in the Outer Rim are human, living, breathing humans. Since the central government had turned their back on the Outer Rim, EH decided to secure their protection with the weapons that she picked up from the dark net. If the guns were to be used for defense, then what about the bomb? EH tells Moran that they'll secure an elevator. They had already located one, but the shaft was completely blocked. The bomb was to be used to break through the rubble. EH's resolve is final, that they're abandoned members of society, and will go to this great length to ensure people's safety. Even with Moran pleading against it, telling her that they can offer protection, EH cannot bring herself to believe her. One important thing to note here is despite their differences, Underworld Queen and EH are friends underneath it all. Rosanna interjects, stating that she doesn't want to bear witness to her own friend's suicide. Underworld Queen is just following orders, but despite this, Sakura tells EH to drop the weapons, to turn around and pretend none of this even happened, and to take the elevator back to the Outer Rim. Sakura ensures EH that they will handle everything else, advising EH to choose life over this suicide mission. EH, clearly in conflict with herself, asks her friends if they'll ever be seen as human. Will the members of the Outer Rim ever be regarded as more than the Ark's rejected trash heap? Will they ever be able to escape this miserable place filled with death and destruction? Moran tells EH that it will happen one day, promising that they'll see to it. EH, after all this back and forth, seems to finally begin to trust her friends. But before she can align her path with Underworld Queen, she falls to the ground, blood seeping from a newly formed bullet wound. Falling to the ground, Moran quickly tends to EH as an unfamiliar voice rings out to the group. Dobon, another deputy chief, had come with a small army of mass-produced Nikkes. He's berating them for missing a clear headshot at EH. It's clear that none of Underworld Queen nor EH are pleased to see him. Sakura stating that he must have kissed a lot of asses to utilize Nikkes. Dobon attempts to cover his ass, saying he's working with Underworld Queen. Despite his large appearance, this man is a glorified coward, using these false claims to cover his own rear. The conversation is being recorded, and he's doing everything he can to maintain his image. Rosanna scoffs at the deputy chief. Even if he had given them orders, they'd do anything else but abide by it. Dobon's reputation in the Arc is anything but clean. He hadn't been in command of any Nikkes in years. He asks why Underworld Queen is even there, questioning if they're assisting a known terrorist to escape. Pressing Dobon further, EH demands to know how he located them so quickly. His asshole response is that it was obvious. The central government uses this elevator to dump subhuman filth into the outer rim. After all, as Dobon states, loathsome flies are naturally attracted to excrement. EH questions if there's a traitor among them when she suddenly stops in her tracks. There was a traitor, a devious snake amidst them, Viper. Dobon confirms that EH's thoughts were true, and EH is repulsed at the thought of being betrayed by Viper. Dobon refuses to disclose any further information and commands the Nikkes to fire upon EH and Underworld Queen. Before the mass-produced Nikkes have a chance to act, Sakura shoots the weapon, disarming all the mass-produced Nikkes. Sakura decides to remind Dobon of one little fact that he seemed to have missed. Dobon is in their domain, and no action can be committed unless given their permission. Dobon is disgusted, chalking up Underworld Queen as aiding a known terrorist. They are Nikkes, and to Dobon, their whole objective is to defend mankind. Seeing the potential collateral, EH tells Underworld Queen to stand down, to not get involved in this mess. All traitors, Dobon states, must be executed. Dobon tells the mass-produced Nikkes to contact Ingrid. He tells them to have her send Extrinsic to their location as soon as possible. They're dealing with some irregulars who have betrayed their benefactors. Surprisingly, instead of fearing for her life, EH seems relieved to hear the name Extrinsic, stating that they had finally finished it. This only solidifies the belief that EH was involved in Elysian somehow previously. For those of you that don't know, Extrinsic was utilized once before in Nikke's story, this being the squad consisting of Maiden and Guillotine, both high-functioning Nikkes produced by Elysian. Rosanna also seems raring to go, to meet these so-called Reapers in Extrinsic. She calls Dobon's bluff and tells him to make it snappy. EH musters the strength to stand and opens her coat, revealing fastened bombs to her body, and tells Dobon he shouldn't have come here personally. EH had made these explosives herself, fashioning it to be deadly for both her and Dobon, but not fatal to the Nikkes. Dobon continues to hurl insults at her, but she tells him to back off and that she's leaving. Disregarding Dobon's entire existence, as she should, EH begins to step backwards towards the elevator. Yes, she plans on taking herself out to see her plan through, and as she gets into the elevator, Underworld Queen can do nothing but watch. The elevator, strangely enough, doesn't begin to ascend, and Dobon tells EH that he had disabled it long ago. EH has a simple response, that if she goes down, Dobon goes down with her. Like the chicken shit coward he is, Dobon cowers in fear behind his Nikkes. Before any of them can act, the elevator door suddenly closes and begins to ascend to the surface. The group watches EH inch closer to the surface, as Dobon yells for the Nikkes to stop the elevator. The lock that had been placed over the elevator had been compromised, but who was the culprit? Underworld Queen and Dobon had been in Ai's view, so who could have broken the chain? For those of you longtime Nikke veterans, only one person comes to mind: Jackal. Upon making it to the surface, EH seems relieved. As long as she has her weapon, she can protect her precious home. EH feels she's doing the right thing and is content with ending things this way. After all the bullshit, all the deception, and all the lies that she'd endured, EH can finally take a moment to rest. However, this moment too is interrupted. Suddenly, the excavation bomb begins to emit a sound. On the display of the bomb is one single word: John D. For those of you that have forgotten, John D, or John Doe, was the alias of the leader of Exotic, Crow. As EH realizes what's about to happen, she is suddenly engulfed in a flash of light. After witnessing EH enveloped in the excavation bomb's explosion, the report from Enoch comes to a close. Enoch continues by saying the bomb had been detonated on the surface, creating a passageway directly to the Ark. One thing isn't sitting well with Denise, and that's the fact that Enoch, the super AI that runs the Ark, didn't put a stop to this invasion. From Enoch's perspective, she didn't see all these events leading up to the current situation, which honestly is an understandable answer. Even as a highly advanced AI, Enoch can still make mistakes. She also informs the group of a high concentration of raptors closing in on the Ark, approximately 300 meters from their current location. Enoch states that she'll explain more once they reach her chamber. With all the past events recounted, we finally meet Enoch in her chamber. The commander asks Enoch to assess the situation, and she states that within 6 hours, everything will return to normal. There is little to no chance of casualties from this invasion. Due to the citizens of the Ark making their way to shelters, the Raptors mainly would be combating NIKKEs. Enoch also states that mighty tools have been dispatched to the hole in the Dome of Eternity, and are making quick haste to repair it. In addition, Absolute and Matisse were sent to accompany them, to prevent any further invasion from the Raptors. Keep in mind, this is humanity's, or rather, the Ark's, strongest combatants. Although Enoch stated that human casualties are virtually zero, the same can't be said for the NIKKEs. All able NIKKEs have been sent out to fight the Raptors. However, they are already sustaining heavy injuries. Do keep in mind that not every NIKKE in the Ark is equipped to combat Raptors. For the most part, many NIKKEs in the Ark participate in mundane tasks, and even fewer have seen a Raptor firsthand. Being an able NIKKE doesn't necessarily mean being versed in combat, but rather a capable body the Ark can use to defend humanity. Of all available NIKKEs sent out, 52 has sustained moderate injuries, while 114 has sustained minor ones. At the moment, there are no casualties, but that could change at a moment's notice. Within 5 minutes, as Enoch continues, the power will be restored and the comms back online. Needless to say, Electric Shock is also putting in work to bring the Ark back online. The infrastructure of the Ark could be repaired in 34 days, and Enoch begins to explain how she was able to assess the situation so quickly. The Ark has various contingency plans if certain criteria are met, plans that are engraved in Enoch's programming. Once these parameters are met, there are appropriate countermeasures to deal with them. This event was one such scenario. However, Enoch states this is luckily not the worst case scenario for the Ark. Remembering Enoch's previous comment, the commander asked her reasoning for summoning them to her chamber. Enoch had stated there was something only the commander could do, and this situation was about to be elevated tenfold. Along with the incoming Raptors, Enoch also detected an entity moving at high velocity towards the Ark. The size and shape of the flying mass pointed to one heretic we're all too familiar with, Nihilister. Nihilister was swiftly closing in on the Ark, and Enoch explains that she'll use a calling signal to lure her to her chamber. Counters, being the only group to successfully do battle with Nihilister and live, will do battle within Enoch's chamber. As Nihilister continues to rapidly approach, Rappy advises the commander to ready the Vop House as a last resort. Within moments, Nihilister reaches the chamber, tendrils of scorching hot flames emitting from her body. The heat alone is enough to nearly suffocate the commander. However, his NIKKEs remain vigilant. Nihilister had been attracted to the Ark from the excavation mine's explosion, and upon investigating, found a gaping hole in the ground. Curiosity had gotten the better of her, and thus she made her way to the Ark. It would appear that Nihilister also has an alternative motive for being in the Ark as well. She states that she'll save her precious colleagues. Indivilia, and Chatterbox. Yes, after Snow White and the Counters had defeated Chatterbox, the Ark had taken his remains and placed them under lock and key. The same goes for Indivilia, who you may know as Material H, who was recaptured in previous chapters. The Counters begin to taunt Nihilister, saying they'll give her the same treatment they had in Eden, and remind her of the Vophouse that had nearly killed her. Well, taunt is an understatement. Anise and Neon have way too much fun toying with her.
The Valve House! Fire it now! Just joking. Man, I got you good.
I assure you, your death will be a painful one.
Fire the Valve House! Wow, that really does work! Fire the Valve House! Pew pew pew! Fire away! Pew pew pew!
Due to Anise and Neon poking at Nihilister, she's ready to set the Ark ablaze. However, something in Enoch's chamber is not right. To Nihilister, it feels eerily off. Disregarding this feeling, she yells for the group to burn as she unleashes her fire breath onto them. Enoch, thinking on her feet, secures a defensive barrier and fortifies it with coolant to block the attack. This fickle defense doesn't last for long though, and each second that passes brings the Counters and the Commander closer to being burnt alive. With little to no option left, Rappy readies another code release for her hidden power. However, Enoch stops Rappy in her tracks. An unidentified object is quickly approaching the Ark at high speeds. Only this time, it wasn't another heretic, but a familiar face to the Counters. Out of nowhere, a single shot rings out, impacting Nihilister, causing her limp body to fall to the ground. Astonished, the Counters and the Commander look to the source of the sound. Suddenly, the entire Ark fills with a bright white light.
Hello, everyone. I am Dorothy. I am a pilgrim who wanders the surface, but I have returned to save the Ark from destruction.
Dorothy had returned, and had single-handedly taken down Nihilister. With a hauntingly angelic greeting, this chapter ends with one monster being defeated, and another emerging in the Ark. Did you enjoy this recap? And what was your favorite part? Be sure to let me know in the comment section down below. Thank you all for joining me, and I will see you all in the next video. Gianne.